Who are you?
Rachel, who are you? Just so...
Dearie? I'm the big bad wolf.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? A question that is typically reserved for children's songs or just used as a figure of speech. However, after playing through the first season of Telltale Games' The Wolf Among Us, this so-called figure of speech becomes much more literal. Beginning in October of 2013 and ending in July of 2014, this mini-series of games is Telltale's second shot at creating a heavily story-driven episodic adventure based off of a comic book series. So now that this season has concluded, what are my thoughts on this odd, yet thought-provoking tale of fables, myths, and legends? Well, let's take a journey down the rabbit hole and find out. For those of you not familiar with the Fables comic series by Bill Willingham, this game begins in New York, circa 1986 in this game. Almost every character from various fairy tales has been forced to leave their respective homeland and settle in this city, hoping desperately for a better life, while also attempting not to reveal their true identities. Then someone gets murdered. This is where our titular character Bigby Wolf shows up. 3 guesses as to who he used to be. As the reigning sheriff of the makeshift Fabletown, it is his responsibility to handle these situations, as it would arouse too much suspicion if the authorities found out. This, however, is no ordinary murder, and as he will quickly find out, this plot goes much, much further than anyone could have anticipated. It also doesn't help that due to Bigby's past and his continued vulpine instincts, the other Fables are far from willing to trust him, which makes the investigation that much harder. So, can Bigby solve this case, gain the trust of his peers, control his instincts, and overall just do the right thing? Well, the beauty about this series is that it's completely up to you. In each episode, you make choices as to how you interrogate people, where to investigate, how you search crime scenes, or even how far you wish to escalate a conflict. Many of these choices will have consequences, if not in the current episode, but further down the line, and you will be held accountable for each of your actions. On the other hand, similarly to the Walking Dead series, there will be other choices that only give you the illusion of choice, but in reality, you don't have any say in the matter. What choices are those? I'll never tell. Overall, there are 5 episodes, and each one typically takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now, let's get to the reviewing. The graphical style of this game is very reminiscent of a graphic novel, which should really go without saying due to the source material. However, despite the somewhat cartoony look, this style not only manages to pull off some very animated facial expressions, but it also pulls off some very dark and even downright disturbing moments. Plus, the environments are all very reminiscent of the 80s with neon-style lighting, along with the types of cars, clothing, and of course, boomboxes. Moving on to the gameplay, well, in all honesty, it's not much more than a point-and-click adventure. You move around, find pieces of evidence, investigate, and talk to people. Plus, the combat is entirely quick-time events, which I'm sure some of you will despise. But honestly, none of this bothered me as I felt that it worked well with the style of game. This series focuses much more heavily on story than gameplay, so as a result, the story really takes precedence. And speaking of story, let's move on. First off, it is really incredible to see the reimagining of fairy tale characters that were forced to live incognito and leave their lives, families, and even riches behind in their homelands. Furthermore, the amount and varieties of these fables is astounding, ranging from typical fairy tale characters to characters from French folklore, and even a couple of American urban legends. But the plot, while occasionally slow-moving, is absolutely brilliant. Not only does it have a very noir style of storytelling, but like any good murder mystery, there are so many twists and turns that it can be downright jarring trying to keep up. Plus, due to the nature of who was murdered and the large amount of suspects right off the bat, you will certainly have your work cut out for you. There were so many choices to make that in the end, I was still left wondering if I really did the right thing. And honestly, this game is brilliant for it. So if you're interested in this journey of intrigue, murder, mystery, and possible redemption, then this series can be found on Xbox Live, Steam, and the PSN for $5 per episode, which totals out to $25. Just keep in mind that this series is usually on sale, so you can very likely get it for cheaper. But as for me, I'll be here eagerly awaiting the probable next season of this series. Until then, this case is closed.